Hey everyone, welcome back to the Badass Confidence Coach podcast. Today, Tim and I are talking about finding strength to continue moving forward. So this comes out of feelings that I have had over the past many weeks and conversations I'm having with clients about when is it going to stop being so hard? When is life going to stop being so hard? Meaning my job, trying to advance in my career, working on relationships with whoever it might be in my family or even with friends. When is it going to stop being so hard? And when can I stop being, air quotes, so strong or having to be strong for myself and others? So I want to talk about it today because I think this is something that it's the kind of thing that we don't talk about often to others, but it's something that we think on the inside and we don't share. We just, we feel exasperated and we carry it around, but it's just not something we think to talk about.
You're talking about persistence
and resilience.
Yeah.
And I'm always talking about resilience. And I was a little hesitant to do an episode on resilience because I've had people tell me, mentors and coaches of mine say, resilience is something that we hear about all the time. And so I've shied away from it a little bit. And even in speaking publicly about it as a speaker. And I think it's something that we still need to be reminded of, to be resilient in life, and that we are all resilient and we all have the capacity to be more resilient, and we all have the capacity for even more strength than we think or we believe. This episode is about reminding all of you who are watching and listening that you have the capacity and you do have the strength to keep doing hard things in life.
You know what? I had the perfect shirt to wear today.
What?
I have actually 3 shirts. I have a shirt that says dig deeper.
Yeah.
I have a shirt that says work harder.
And we have a shirt that says suck it up, Buttercup.
And I forgot about that one. Suck it up, Buttercup.
You used to wear that all the time when you were teaching your classes.
Yeah. And then the one shirt that's been a little elusive that I haven't found yet, but I will find it, is the LHS shirt.
Lift heavy shit.
Yeah.
That comes from, I think of Stacey Sims. Stacey Sims talks about lifting heavy shit, especially for middle-aged people that we get, air quote, lazy with our strength training and we don't lift heavy weights. And she speaks specifically to perimenopausal and menopausal women, but it's for all men and women. It's all middle-aged people that you've got to lift heavy shit.
Yeah.
And I was so fascinated yesterday. I'm going to digress for 1 second. You all will be interested to hear this. I was at your gym yesterday because it's -6 here. And I just was like, I'm done. I'm not going to wait for the space heater to get the garage, which is where our gym is, to 30 degrees. So I went down to your gym. And you came up and you were helping me with a couple of my lifts. And I don't know, I was talking to you about your space, the fitness space of where you work. And I said, yeah, this is like really outdated from the 80s. It needs to be improved. And you were talking about the improvements that you're making down there. It was interesting. You said, well, we're going to take some of this cardio equipment. You were just telling me what you were doing, taking the cardio equipment out because you put in this huge, big new rig for the strength training side of the gym. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And you said, because people aren't doing cardio that much anymore. I couldn't believe that. You never told me that. It was so interesting. And I'm like, what? You were like, God are the days of the signs in the gym wall saying 30 minutes max during peak times. You remember that? I remember that. You could
sign up sheets.
Yes. I remember the 30-minute max. And you're like, damn, I wanted to go for 45. But if you were there after hours early in the morning, you couldn't have a machine for more than 30 minutes. And you said, no. Those days are over. People are strength training.
Yeah.
So that's great news.
Yeah. And it's not everybody every time, but it's definitely the trend. Like we have totally downsized our cardio space to increase functional training.
Well, I think it's a great trend. And I think that people are listening to podcasts and watching social media enough that it's been a resounding yes to, okay, we need to change the way we're doing things. We know that the constant steady state cardio is not the way to go anymore. It's more of the high intensity interval training, the 15-minute sprint intervals, and then strength training.
Or the lower paced, just steady work where you're in that fat burning zone. Like you crank up the incline, right? That's still the thing.
Yeah.
And
it
that's
is.
still
it is.
beneficial.
Yeah.
I think really it comes down to the science, right? It comes down to the science, and people are more educated now because there's so much out there. You could
I think with podcasting, there's so many podcasts you could listen to that talk about everything we're talking about now. This is a mental health and wellness podcast. You can specifically listen to podcasts, and we're talking about it, but you can go and specifically listen to podcasts or just talk about fitness and strength training and the changes in our bodies as we age. I mean, I can talk forever. Those are the people I listen to about what the latest science is and latest research.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, but this is about really more of the mental game of continuing to be strong and what it takes and how important it is for you. I want you all to know this. You do have more in you. So, the capacity that you need to grow as a person, it's really not about reaching a fixed level of air quote strength, but rather about developing a growth mindset. It's always about a growth mindset, or we call it an abundance mindset. Okay. It's a willingness to embrace the challenges that you're facing in your life, the challenges that are showing up for you on any given day, and to be able to continuously learn, having an attitude of curiosity and wanting to learn and continuing to build resilience when you get knocked down. So you get back up. What's that song? I get knocked down and I
Wumba
get up
chumba,
again. Wumba chumba.
wumba chumba, something like that. I
Think
don't
they
know.
talked about that at the
Yeah,
SNL 50th anniversary on Sunday night. Yeah.
that's
But
so funny.
it's true though. It's continuing to have an attitude of wanting to learn and getting curious and building resilience. So let's go into the key components. So number one of the key components of building strength and capacity is your self-awareness, understanding your feelings, understanding your strengths, and looking at your weaknesses and areas for improvement. Where do I need to improve in my life? And this is at any stage of the game. If you're in your 20s, 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, and on. There are always areas for improvement. So much of this goes back to attitude. It's your attitude, how you show up in life. It's your attitude about yourself. So sometimes when you feel exhausted about always being strong for everybody else, no matter where it is, what arena you are in your life, that is a sign, though, that you need some rest. So if you feel exhausted, that I'm always having to be strong, listen to that. That's your sixth sense, your intuition telling you that you need a break and that you need to rest, or maybe you need to develop new strategies for self care. It's not a flaw in your character that you're tired. Okay. And that's really, really important. I can't even overestimate that, how important that is, because I know for me, especially in the past 6 years, there are days that I work 7 days a week and it's not been good. And I have a new coach, a new business coach, and we're talking about my business. And she said to me, you need to cut that out. You need to cut out the 7 days a week. And even I have gotten off balance and I have felt that this is not sustainable. I can't be doing this 7 days a week. 30 minutes of sending out Zoom links for next week's coaching and therapy clients, that's one thing. Or it's spending time, because I do this and I recommend my clients do it. I do spend time on Sundays, half an hour looking at my calendar coming up.
Setting up the week.
Setting up the week.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about doing work on a Saturday and a Sunday. And she said, you can't be doing that, because I was telling her I feel tired. I feel exhausted. And she's like, well, you know why? I'm like, yeah, I do know why.
Yeah.
So there you go. I need to hear it too. I mean, I know this, but even the therapists, even the coaches, we need coaching. And we need people coming up behind us saying, look at what you're doing here. You need to work on that. Do you see that? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. We all need that reminding.
This is all that remote working debate, right?
Like, oh, is it?
Well, yeah, because if you work remotely, I mean, back in the day, whatever that means, it was 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 10 to 6.
Yes, you're right.
It was,
yeah.
Monday
yeah.
through Friday.
Yeah.
See, on Monday, you shut down, you shut off, and then you came back Monday and off you went again.
Yeah.
Now you have a remote day in the middle of the week, or 2 or 3, or somebody that's 100% remote. And you don't work from 9 to 5. You might get up and work a couple hours and you go do something. But then by the time you end your day, air quotes, it's like 6:30, 7 o'clock. You're still kind of throwing a couple things down, right? You're trying to get some things done.
True.
And then on Saturday, it's like, oh, there's one thing I didn't get to. So all of a sudden it's like, okay, instead of 5 days a week, now it's 5.5. Right?
I know you're going into a whole other topic that we could do an episode on. We could really go down a rabbit hole with this.
Self-aware, but that's the point, though, is be aware. And you also, I think you have to be aware that, like, what are your ceilings? You're never going to be perfect. So you have to be aware that, like, my ceiling to correct or fix or be better at this certain thing.
I think you have to set structures when you are remote and even when you're hybrid. But when you're remote full time, you need to set those structures, those boundaries up in place. For work, your 40 hours or your 40 plus hours, if that's what you're doing. Sometimes at work, it is required. And we are working more than 40 hours a week. I was working crazy hours. And I think it's different for people who are upper level, high performance people in corporate America. And I think it's different for entrepreneurs, because there's never a 5 o'clock switch
for an entrepreneur.
For an entrepreneur or a small business owner. It's never up. It's 5 o'clock. You're done
Yeah.
now. Let's go have a drink. Back in the day, maybe with our parents or our grandparents. Well, I take that back. I mean, even 10, 15 years ago, it has changed so much
Sure.
and it really with COVID. And there's a lot of debate. Is it Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan
Yeah.
Chase? Somebody recorded the conference and I saw it on social media. They had 1,300 signatures because he was bringing everybody back 5 days a week. And it's probably coming from the whole Trump thing and everything that's going on with stopping remote work. And 1,300 people signed a petition to stay hybrid or stay remote. And he went like apeshit on them and was F bombing, screaming out that he kind of lost. Well, he didn't kind of, he lost it.
Yeah.
And I heard the recording. He had some good points. I just don't think that that's the way to talk to your employees and yell at them and throw down F bombs.
No.
He had good points.
He had good points,
But I think he's not listening to the Gen Zers. I'm sorry, but they're coming up and we have to be able to listen with curiosity about what it is that they're saying.
I agree with that. Well, no, I think for him, I think it got personal because he commented on like, well, I come to work and I walk down these hallways and I'm the only one here. And then he took that out on all of his people.
He said, you're missing out on creativity. You're missing out on connectivity with one another. You're missing out on your ability to move up professionally. And what I want, your performance. And he was trying to, I think, in a way, underscore the importance of talking and chit-chatting around the water cooler.
Totally. It's live coaching in your business. You don't
Yeah.
get that at home.
Yeah.
You don't.
The manner in which he spoke in that Zoom call and his delivery was
Terrible.
off.
Terrible.
It was
Yeah,
terrible.
it was
Right.
terrible.
All right. So there you go. That's a little bit of a thought about this whole remote work, but it's a big thing right now. It's a topic of conversation. It's all over.
Every day,
It's
every
all over
industry,
social media.
I think has some version of this conversation going on.
Okay. So to build your capacity to do hard things, number one is self-awareness, which we just talked about. Number two is going to be resilience. It's recognizing that growth often involves setbacks. You are going to get knocked down. You're going to scrape and bloody your knees. It's going to happen. It's happened to me. Maybe you know, I mean, I have been in private practice. Private practice means I've been seeing clients in my own office. I'm a little small business owner for 25 years. And there are times in those 25 years when it has been hard. There are times in those 25 years when I have not been busy, when I've needed more clients, and when I have wondered, how am I going to pay rent? I never really advertise. I would advertise on one website, popular one for therapy. I never advertise for coaching. Marketing and sales is very hard for me. I just hate doing it. So I've had to hire people to help me over the years, but it was something that it felt disingenuous and inauthentic to me. So I know I'm kicking myself in the butt because I wasn't good at it and I didn't do it. And I paid the price because my coaches would say to me, Anna, people don't know you're out there. They're trying to find you. They can't find you. So, okay, I hear that loud and clear. Really good point. All that to say that there were times when it's been really, really difficult. And I felt like saying, you know what? I'm just going to hang this all up. I'll just coach people on the side. I'll coach people for free. And I'm going back into medical. I'm going back into the hospital system where I came out of. And I will look for a director position and I will head up a psych unit. I'll head up an eating disorder program. I'll do that. It's going to be 40 hours a week. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to make like maybe $100,000 a year. And I would consider that. You've heard me say it. Maybe I should just go back. Maybe I should just go back. And there's health insurance is good and there's good benefits, but you're back to like the 3 or 4 weeks of vacation or 2 weeks of vacation a year, I think. And you would always say to me, just hold on, just hold on. Every time you say this, it turns around. And you're right, lo and behold, because I'd freak out. And I remember one of the director of oncology when I worked at the big oncology clinic here in the North Shore, Chicago. And I remember like, oh, he feels the same way too, because I was good friends with him and I was good friends with his secretary. She was a good friend of mine. And she would say, and I won't say his name, but he would go on vacation for 1 or 2 weeks and he'd come back and he would look at his list of patients and Monday or Tuesday, he wouldn't be full. And the secretary would say, Dr. So-and-so, he'd always freak out because like, why am I not full? Why am I not full? Why do I have a full case of, you know who I'm talking about? Why do I have a full list of patients?
Yeah.
And she's like, doctor, you went on vacation. And we spent a lot of time telling people, I don't know what, it's interesting how that happens. But lo and behold, by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, he's full again.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's how I feel. I feel the same way.
Well, it's kind of the nature of your business cycle.
And it does turn around. It always
Yeah.
fills back up.
Yeah.
And you just, who knows why?
Think about what you're selling. You're selling something that's not forever. You're not selling socks that like somebody needs
I
and
don't
then
want it to be forever.
right?
I want people to get better and move on.
Exactly. Which
Yeah.
means that person drops, which means what? You need to add somebody new.
New
So
people coming in.
it's like the conveyor belt.
Right.
Something falls, you got to add something on the other side.
But it took mental resilience, and it
Yeah,
takes mental resilience on my part
true.
to keep believing and understanding like, no, don't worry, it's going to turn around
It
because
will
I have
turn.
anxiety and I will
Yeah,
freak out about
yeah,
things. And you were always in my ear, which is great, and saying, come on, you got this, you got this. It always turns around and it does.
yeah.
But that's the mental resilience and remembering my own self talk. Remember who you are, just as long, always do good work. Like my first consultant in my therapy practice 25 years ago, Susan said to me, Anna, at the end of the day, all I can say to you is do good work, whether it be as a psychotherapist or as a life coach, get the knowledge, show up, be ethical, do good work. That's what I hold
Yeah.
to this day, right? Resilience is the realization that here I am 25 years in, that it doesn't get any easier. And that's been, in a way, a hard pill to swallow. I have to keep swallowing that pill. And you all know that are listening, you know it too. It's like, shit, I have to swallow that pill again. I don't want to swallow that pill again. It was a big freaking horse pill. I swallowed it 2 years ago and
Yeah.
here it is again. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's resilience. It's like, it's like taking me, like dragging me to what it is that life is presenting to me right now. That's resilience. So resilience is about setbacks, and it's life's challenges are ongoing. It doesn't get any easier, but you have the strength and the capacity to deal with what life throws you. Life is throwing all of us curveballs on any given day. And it's like, geez, I got to swing at that. You got to swing and you got to try to hit that curveball. And if you miss, it's okay. A lot of us miss.
There's another pitch coming.
Oh, a lot of us
Right?
can't hit curveballs.
Right.
I can't hit that.
Right.
And it's fast as the hell.
Yeah.
But okay, keep at it. You'll be able to hit it.
Yeah.
You'll keep doing it.
You know the business cycle now. And so for you, it's like, all right, anticipate there is going to be the low and it's just temporary. And then there's the high, which is also temporary, right? So live in the middle. Be good with the low and embrace the high.
Yeah.
That's what you're
Yeah.
doing.
I'm trying to celebrate the wins,
Yeah.
which is really important to do,
Yeah.
celebrate those wins. And something of that resilience teaches all of us, if we're open to it and we can take some time to be introspective, we're learning about ourselves. It's an opportunity for you to learn about yourself, to learn about how you deal with adversity in your life,
Sure.
how you deal with challenges and when things are hard. How are you?
Yeah.
Do you break down? Do you get angry and disappointed? Maybe you spend some time being angry. Then do you move out of that? And do you move into a growth mindset? Say, okay, what am I here to learn?
Yeah.
What do I need to do to work on this? I don't think there's any fixing. And at the same time, what changes do I need to make? That can be hard. That's why I have coaches, because they help me, because I can't see objectively what they see.
Yeah. It's like they're trying to help you define patterns.
They want my best. They want what's best for me.
Yeah.
They always do.
They can help you see. You can almost anticipate what's coming now.
Yeah.
You
Like,
can
remember
educate
how you
them.
were last time. Like, let's,
Exactly.
you're going back into working. Let's use the example of you, Anna. You've noticed, you've talked about the weekends. Like, you're working 7 days a week again. We talked about this. Do we need to put that back on your action step to not work on Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah.
Do we need to make that a goal for you? Are you okay with that? Yeah. I need to get back to that because I need reminding of that. Daylight savings takes effect on March 9th, and it's the perfect time for you to optimize your morning routine now that more sunlight is greeting you in the morning. Enter AG1. Listen, unlike other supplements that come and go, AG1 is a habit that actually sticks because you can feel the difference. There are days when I don't perfectly get in all my fruits and vegetables, but AG1 keeps me going with energy. It's helping with my skin and it's helping me get that great sleep that you all know I preach about all the time. And unlike other supplements that make big claims without the research, AG1 is formulated based on the latest science in nutrition and wellness. So when it comes to my health and hopefully to yours, I want something that I and all of you can trust. And that's why I choose AG1. With science backed ingredients and real benefits, I can feel AG1 makes it easy to support overall wellness every day. And that's why I've been partnering with AG1 for so many years. And AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3 and K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/Anna to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/Anna to start your new year on a healthier note. Number one, self-awareness. Number two, resilience. Number three is being curious and open. So for you to continue to work on developing your capacity and your strengths moving forward, cultivate a willingness to explore, to experiment, and accept that mistakes are part of the journey. I don't like this one. This is hard for me. I don't like it. I love curiosity and
Why?
openness because I don't like that mistakes are part of the journey. I don't want mistakes.
I mean, isn't that life
They're like,
in
they
general?
make me want to cry. They make me want to cry. They're hard. They're hard. But being open, it does fuel personal and professional growth. It does. I mean, we learn from our mistakes, right? We hear it all the time. It's true. I've learned from hiring the wrong people. That's a big one for me in my practice, in my business. I've learned from hiring the wrong people who I don't want to hire next. And then I put it off because I'm like, hiring people is really hard because you have to spend all the time interviewing them. Then you hire the right person. Then you have to train them. And it takes months to train somebody before you can really hand them over the reins. So I just think about all the extra work I have to do.
Yeah, that's common. I mean,
It's very common. You listening, you all
onboarding
listening,
folks for
yes,
companies is a thing that people talk about
all the time. And I know you all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I have made mistakes with it. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to do this again. And I have to remain open that there is a really great person, because every now and then you find that unicorn, you find that person who's a golden nugget. You're like, oh, I'll pay you whatever you want because you are so amazing, and you stay on it not just a year later. So what I've noticed is that 3 or 4 years later, people start to slack with me, and that I'll pay you to not slack and to not do 80% of the work, but I'll pay you to continue to do 100% of the work, pay you how much I value you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think it makes you realize the recruiting and the interviewing process are critical.
Yes.
Right. Like getting the right person.
Yeah.
I wish I had my phone with me. I don't, but I took a picture of this. So there was a sign in front of this office that said, if you have to spend time watching over your people, you hired the wrong person.
Yeah.
You hired the wrong people. Like
Yeah.
you should have been more diligent to find the right
Really good
type
point.
of person.
Really good point.
Right.
Yeah.
You can trust them.
Yeah.
You can let them go. You can chill as a business owner or as a manager.
Right.
You're like, you know what? This person's got it because I found the right person.
Yeah. Yeah. And making mistakes, being willing to be open to that, to understand, explore within myself, to get curious within myself. Okay, how did that happen, Anna? Why did that happen? And what are you going to do to make changes?
Yeah.
How are you going to make that better?
Yeah.
So that's number 3, curiosity and openness. And number 4 is persistence. For you all to understand that growth, it's a lifelong process. It does not stop. It's how you want to look at it, though. It is your attitude about persistence. Are you willing to persist? Are you willing to keep going? So I've said this, I know I've said this in social media, on my posts, I've said it in the podcast, what you persist resists. Be persistent in moving towards growth and strength, all right? You're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to get smacked in the face like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Wow. Continue to be persistent and move beyond the resistance that you're hitting up against. You have the capacity within you to continue to do this work throughout your life, whatever it is that you're working on. Let's say you're retired and you want to pick up pickleball and it's not coming so easily to you. Maybe you've had some health challenges. Maybe you're not moving in the way that you used to. Okay. What you resist, persist, don't resist it. Persist, keep going, keep practicing,
Continue
keep trying,
working,
continue working.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So persistence. So, embracing the idea that there is no final destination can be both liberating and a call to continuous self-improvement. Continuously self-improve. All right. If you have a growth mindset, you look at abundance and you have your attitude in the right place, self-improvement is something that you're listening to us or watching us right now. This is something that is old hat for you. You know this. This might be more for those who are listening and watching who struggle with this. They go into scarcity mindset. They tend to get pessimistic or negative. All right. Acknowledge that. And what can you do to change that? How can you move out of that, seeing the glass half empty versus the glass half full attitude? That will come back to bite you in the butt. the glass half empty, and the scarcity mindset. Everything is scarce. Life is scarce. Money is scarce. Resources are scarce. Be scared. Be afraid all the time. That's a rough way to live today. It's always been a rough way to live.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've talked about this a little bit. Embrace the journey. Don't be so focused on the finish line because there really isn't one. There's always going to be another day. There's always another challenge. There's always some other thing to do. So
Right.
just embrace what you're doing now
Right.
to get over that next. It's like running hurdles. You ran hurdles back in high school. There's not just one hurdle. You got to go over
Yeah.
multiple hurdles
Yeah.
and just continue.
Yeah.
You get to the air quotes finish line. You line back up and you do it again. So
That's a good point.
just keep going.
Yeah. As humans, we're wired for growth. Our brains are highly adaptable to neuroplasticity, which I've talked about here on the podcast. So we can make and form new neural connections throughout our lives. And this is important. It does not end, people, for all of you, for me and for you, Tim. New neural connections are formed all the time throughout our lifespan. In our 80s, in our 90s, we can still be developing new neural pathways. Really, really important because I think that we think that at some point it stops. It doesn't. If we want to continue to grow and to learn. So evolutionarily, I hope I said that right, evolutionarily, this ability has been key to our survival. It's how we've survived as humans, allowing us to adapt to these new challenges and environments. That's how we've gotten to where we are, 2025. How many millennia have humans been on this earth and we have evolved emotionally and psychologically? Our struggles and the resulting learning processes push us to innovate and find creative solutions to problems. It's wired in us.
Yeah.
So don't stop growing. Don't stop moving. Keep moving forward.
And kind of what you're saying, and this goes for most industries, it's like you don't want to get into that lazy pattern of rinse and repeat, right? Where it's just like, well, we've done it this way for the last whatever, so let's just do it again.
Well, that's
right.
That's more scarcity. That's pigeonholing a system, a routine.
Yeah.
This is how I've always done it. This is how we do it. Now, there are times that is appropriate and that's how it ought to be. And at the same time, there are times when, especially with like new people come in and they're like, can we broaden our horizons? Can we broaden our mental landscape, our visual landscape, and think about another way of doing this? There's ways to do this better.
Sure.
And maybe someone says, no, this is how we've always done it. This is how we've always done it. And, talk about, I see this at work, talk about banging heads together. I mean, I've worked in hospital systems where I've tried to come in and I've gone way up the ranks. You felt like they gave you the 15 minutes of their time just to indulge me. I was on their calendar, on their schedule, like, oh, okay, what does she want? What does she want to talk about? And I have an idea and it's like, yeah, no, we don't do it that way. I understand that you have a great idea and I know that you have some points there, but we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We have done it this way for 20 years and we're not going to change. So thanks for coming. See you later. Bye. I can't tell you how many times that's happened.
And you know what's so funny about that? Because we've done this for 20 years. Okay, do the math on that statement. That means that you
this makes no sense.
Well, you created your format for whatever it is we're doing in 2025 back in 2020 or 2005, right? Like really?
Try 2008.
Yeah, times have changed. Like, stop it.
Yeah. We call that a closed system.
Yeah.
That's a closed system. And there are a lot of closed systems out there. I'm talking on the macro level. We're talking about corporations, companies, large businesses. They tend to have closed systems. They really struggle with an open system and being open to new input and feedback. The larger ones. That's why I left the corporate world. And that's why I left these larger, massive hospital systems we have in our country now, because they are not open to feedback. They are a closed down system. Why do you think everybody's leaving? Why do you think the doctors are leaving? Why do you think I left? I loved working with the patients. I did not want to work in eating disorders. I'm like, God, why did you put me in eating disorders? I do not work in eating disorders. I dealt with it in my younger years with a family member. I just didn't want to go around it. I saw it. It was all around me when I was in high school. I just didn't want to be around eating disorders. And here I am. I was in eating disorders. It's just a long story about how I got there. And that's a story for another time, but ended up loving it. Telling myself, I was 28 when I got that job and I was working with all these teenagers and people in their 20s. Ended up loving it.
Yeah.
Love the patients, love my colleagues, love the staff. Just was a great fit. and loved my ability to be able to use my skills to learn and to advance them. Loved working in oncology. We love the ER, the ER units, these emergency room departments. They are a tight knit group of people because they've been through so much together. They've seen a lot of trauma. They've seen a lot of crisis, and they are tight. And once you get in with them, you are family. I mean, oncology, your family. The nurses, I still see them today. I don't see them as much, a couple times a year, but we have experienced grief, death, crisis, stress, oncology, cancer. I can go on, intensive care units. And I would not go back into a hospital system. I would go back to see the patients. I would go back to work with a multidisciplinary team of doctors and nurses and OT and PT and speech. Loved them all, dietitians, but it's the hospital system and they don't pay us enough money.
Yeah.
It's a closed system.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Can I give you an example of what we're speaking of right now?
Yeah.
So think of a big company. Think of a company like a cereal company or like Reese's or something like that. So they've made a certain product since who knows when, 60s, 70s, right?
Reese's peanut butter company?
Yeah. How long has that been around?
Oh, probably. I think it was the 20s.
You go into a meeting in Reese's and they're like, oh, we want to do this or that. And they're like, oh, no. We've been making this for decades. But you also see Reese's trying different things now, right? There's different products that Reese's
They
makes.
kept the classic.
Yeah, they kept a little bit of that, like, oh, we always do it this way attitude. And they added the new stuff.
That's the operative word.
Yes.
So it's not this, only this. It's both and.
Yes.
It's this. It's yes and. Yes and.
Yeah.
So you all know, that's the philosophy of Second City in Chicago. Viola Davis, who created Second City, where I graduated from improv in December, the improv course that I was in for a year and a half. It's all about yes and this and that. Right. Really good example. All right. So I'm going to end with names of individuals that who really worked hard until the end of their lives and left an indelible mark on all of us. Because I think that look to the people ahead of us, look to the people who did hard things, and we can use them as our guides and use them as people to look up to.
Okay.
So Nelson Mandela, he endured 27 years in prison, yet he came out with an unwavering commitment to reconciliation and justice. Ultimately, he helped transform South Africa from apartheid.
That's a great example.
Worked hard until the end.
Yeah.
Another one.
You're talking about folks that their legacy outlived
their legacy.
Everything
because they
else.
worked hard their whole lives.
Yeah.
And they continued to work within their capacity, and they didn't know what their capacity was because they pushed their limits.
Sure.
And they were resilient. These are resilient individuals. You think 27 years in that tiny, small jail cell, Nelson Mandela didn't have moments of crying and despair. He would work out. He'd have a tiny little space and he would do all those push-ups in his little concrete cell and run in place.
Yeah. That brings a whole new meaning to jail cell push-ups, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Next, Thomas Edison. Do you know who he is, everybody? He's famously persistent. So Edison viewed every failure as a step closer to success, which I love that. Rather than giving up, he viewed every failure, every time it didn't work out, his experiments. Okay, I'm one step closer to being successful. What a wonderful attitude. His relentless experimentation led to innovation that transformed modern life today.
Absolutely.
2025.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
Next, Maya Angelou. Despite facing early life trauma and personal hardship, and did she have some personal hardship? Angelou became a celebrated author, poet, and activist, continually using her experiences to fuel her creative and social impact. I mention her to my therapy and coaching clients, and everybody knows who she is. She's the one who told Oprah Winfrey, because she was Oprah Winfrey's mentor. She told Oprah, and I say it all the time, in every aspect of my life, and I never forgot it. When people show you who they are, believe them. Or when people show you who they are the first time, believe them. That's Maya Angelou. Such words of wisdom.
That's good advice.
Well, I say it all the time.
I think all of us have a light bulb that just went off in our head, right?
When people show you who they are the first time, believe them. So that guy who's not treating you right, that woman who's not treating you right, and you keep having hope that it's going to work out, that they're going to change, air quote, change, get better. Not happening. They're probably not changing. They've showed you who they are. Remember that. Okay. And last but not least, and to me is number one, because I cannot imagine what he went through. Viktor Frankl. Man's Search for Meaning. I had to read it in high school. He's a Holocaust survivor who, despite unimaginable suffering of himself, but the suffering he saw of those around him, he dedicated his life to understanding and teaching the human capacity to find meaning, even in the darkest of circumstances. Viktor Frankl is a saint in my eyes. He is a hero. He's a man with unwavering strength, resilience, and capacity to do great things.
Yeah.
So there you all go. And remember, you're not any different than the four people I just mentioned. You're not any different. They're just regular humans who did hard things. And so are you. You're a regular human. So are you and I, Tim.
Yeah.
But you all can do hard things. You have the capacity.
Yeah. And we still have time.
Yeah.
Right. To develop that legacy. Right.
You all have some time. You
Go
got
for it.
today. You got today.
There you
Okay.
go.
So each of these people, it demonstrates that growth isn't really about the absence of struggles, because they all have had struggles. It's about harnessing your inner resources, learning from every setback, and continuing to push forward despite the challenges that life is throwing at you, despite the curveballs that are getting thrown your way. Okay. Their lives show that hard work, resilience, and dedication to continuous growth leaves a lasting legacy. All right. So please rate, review the podcast. I hope that this was helpful, everybody. And you know where to find me. If you want to work with me one-on-one, email me hello@annamarcolini.com, and follow me on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and on TikTok, and on LinkedIn. Okay.
There you go.
Mad love, everyone. I hope that this was helpful.